what's up? It's Andy again from Youth Ministry 360, back with another teacher prep video. This video is for lesson 3 of our gospel series. You've already taught a couple, kind of making the turn here, going down the back stretch. And I hope it's been a good study for you so far. Up to this point, in the first lesson, you kind of laid the foundation for what the gospel is and that the gospel is available for all people. In lesson 2, you began to really talk about how the gospel transforms us. So how we're changed by the impact of the gospel in our lives. You're going to do that again in lesson 3. In lesson 2, you recall that you looked at how the gospel impacted the way we love others. We love like Christ loved us. In lesson 3, we're going to look at how the gospel impacts us and leads us to serve like Jesus. So we're talking about loving like Christ. And now we're talking about serving like Christ. And we're going to do this through a few different ways. And this is one of my favorite passages in Scripture. But the passage in Matthew where Jesus is talking about, at the end of time when the Son of Man comes back and returns and he divides, the people up into sheep and goats, right? And you know the story. It's sort of the parable that he's telling. Where he's talking about, he looks at the group on his right and he says, you're going to heaven, you're going to be with me because when I was, naked, you clothed me. When I was hungry, you fed me. When I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. And of course, we know in the parable, the people respond, Lord, when did we do these things for you? And Jesus says, when you did this to the least of these, you did this to me. And of course, he says the opposite to the other group. And he calls, this group is the righteous and this group is the unrighteous. And the unrighteous, he says, I was naked and you didn't clothe me, and I was hungry and you didn't give me food, and I was thirsty and you didn't give me drink. And of course the unrighteous say, we didn't, Lord, when did we see you doing this? And he says, when you didn't do that to the least of these, you were doing it to me. And so we're going to help your students. This is kind of it can be a tough passage. There can be a little tension here. We're going to help your students really understand that the actions themselves don't make someone righteous. So we're going to help your students realize that the rest of Scripture, especially in Paul's writings, attests to this idea that salvation is through faith alone, not through actions. And what Jesus was saying is that those who have been transformed by the gospel, those who have been saved, those who have been made righteous, as he calls them, these actions are the fruit of the gospel in their lives, in and through their lives. And these actions, compassion for the poor, is fruit of Christ in someone's life. And so we're going to help your students see that it's not the actions itself that save them, right? And make them righteous. Those actions are the result of Christ in their lives. We're going to look in Mark as well, where James and John are asking Jesus if they can be the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And what a great response here. Jesus uses a teachable moment like he always does. He kind of, mildly kind of corrects them a little bit, at the same time kind of teaching them about what's about to happen to him. And then he approaches all the disciples and says, look, in my kingdom economy, if you want to be first, you have to be last. And if you want to be great, you have to be the servant of all. And so what we're going to do is we're going to build off both of these, this idea of Jesus showing us that compassion for the needy, taking care of those who cannot take care of themselves, that is something the righteous do. That is an inherent, innate action of a Christ follower, and this idea of service being highly, highly valued by God. And we're gonna talk to your students about the impact of the gospel in their lives as it comes to serving others, and make the case that this is a key hallmark of someone who has been impacted by the gospel. We're going to help them very, very practically identify ways that they can serve the people around them. We're sort of taking this idea of, and you'll see it in a lesson where there's a way we can serve to where it's just kind of going about our business every day. We're not really necessarily going out of our way, so to speak. It's just the people in our lives, the people right in their context. And there's a way to serve somebody. Maybe if you love playing video games, well, invite somebody over to play video games with you or something like that, right? You're going to help them. You're going to guide them through this process of sort of identifying some ways they can serve just in their everyday context. And then, of course, we want you to challenge them to go deeper than that. And maybe even talk about how as a group you can serve the needy. So very specifically there, kind of going out of their way to do things specifically to serve the needy in your community. with a group of friends, by themselves, with their family, with your church. And so you're going to help them walk through that. We're going to give you a guide, a handout to help you do that. And I would encourage you to challenge students to kind of keep that with them, and to look back at that and really let it serve as a reminder for them and their families of God's call, of Christ's call to serve others and to serve the world as a result of the gospel in their lives. So it's a really cool lesson. I hope you enjoy teaching it. And if you have any questions, never hesitate to call or email or live chat us. We're here for you, and we love to talk with you and help you any way we can. Hope your lesson goes great. I'll see you on our last teacher